The story of our economic policy. I don't think 23 or 24 programs later we've learned anything. I don't think any of the actors have learned anything. We've had tons of consultants, tons of TA, tons of loans. Situation remains high debt, low growth, high inflation, unemployment, high unemployment, and low investment. Einstein said doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results is insanity. But our program design remains tax, 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 and tax more. Old institutions, colonial institutions will drive you to hell. But I guess we don't learn that. We expect the same results. Government doesn't listen to local thinkers at all. There's no local thought. There's no local conversation. No, there's one local conversation. Please remember. We have no local conversation. You and I sitting here, we have no local conversation. They don't hear us out in the street. We have the colonial institutions, the colonial civil service, the colonial judiciary, the colonial army. We have the colonial laws. Our laws were written in 1860, 1817, 1880, something like that. 1911, 1912 were the last laws that we had. On top of now the laws that we pass are strange laws. Written by outsiders. I don't know why we pass them, but we do. Are we willing to challenge colonialism? No, because we want to tax more. We want to tax more. Tax is the most important thing. My life depends on a file. My school admission, my childhood, whatever, everything depends on a file. What is a file? It's a paper-based thing that sort of grows and grows in every aspect of my life. And it has, you tied strings around it, it looks terrible, but therefore, there it is. And I have to feed it with paper all the time. Paper, paper, paper. Every day I have to get something signed by some official because I exist. Colonial markets don't exist. Everybody's awake, because I certainly am not. I thought I was later. I'm almost ready to take a nap, but unfortunately they put me up first. So I'll go quickly because Fahim is very upset about the time. Well, we've been working on the immediate reform agenda, which is our fund program. Is Esther here? Is the fund here or not? No. Fund is always absent. That also is something that we should look at. When I was the IMF rep in 2 or 3 countries, I used to be at every conference to learn. So how do they learn? That's beside the point. Move on. I begin with the famous statement by Einstein, insanity is the name of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And that's been the story of our economic policy. I don't think 23 or 24 programs later we've learned anything. I don't think any of the actors have learned anything. We've had tons of consultants, tons of TA, tons of loans. Situation remains high debt, low growth, high inflation, unemployment, high unemployment, and low investment. So is this time going to be different? So maybe our presentation should be called, "This time is different." I repeat, Einstein said doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results is insanity. But our program design remains tax, 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 and tax more. A structural reform. When the term structural reform is mentioned, I always ask, what is structural reform? They say tax, tax more. Insanity is the name of doing the same thing over and over again. When we read Why Nations Fail, they tell us to read Why Nations Fail. We read about institutions. We read about the fact that old institutions, colonial institutions will drive you to hell. But I guess we don't learn that. We expect the same results. Government doesn't listen to local thinkers at all. There's no local thought. There's no local conversation. No, there's one local conversation. Please remember. We have no local conversation. You and I sitting here, we have no local conversation. They don't hear us out in the street. We think about so many things. We talk about so many things, but the government never listens to us because the government is listening to somebody else. The people who come out with so many reports. Now, what is structural reform? What is the institution that Acemoglu and Robinson talk about? We have the colonial institutions, the colonial civil service, the colonial judiciary, the colonial army. We have the colonial laws. Our laws were written in 1860, 1817, 1880, something like that. 1911, 1912 were the last laws that we had. On top of now, the laws that we pass are strange laws, written by outsiders. I don't know why we pass them, but we do. Are we willing to challenge colonialism? No, because we want to tax more. We want to tax more. Tax is the most important thing. Then we want to do sector by sector analysis. In this country, there are no markets, but we are still doing sector by sector analysis. We are all concerned about poverty. But what we want to do about poverty is give them more charity, not more opportunity. PID has been yelling about opportunity, but we don't give them opportunity, we give them charity. 75 years of chasing taxes. We are the only nation that calls our people tax cheats, corrupt, etc., etc. Our neighbors are no different from us. But yet, their leaders don't yell that they are tax thieves or whatever. But we are told we are tax thieves. We are told we are corrupt. We are told we are evil. So where's the social contract? Why should we listen to them? I think we really need to begin to stop maligning our people. We need to begin to think about deep reform, not structural reform, which is taxes. Ad hoc taxes that are closing the economy. Surprisingly, my old agency, the fund, for the sake of fiscal holiness, they have closed our economy. We had opened our economy by 2005-06. 2008 program, the fund put in ad hoc taxes, regulatory duties, additional custom duties, and on and on and on. Today, we have a closed current account, as well as an exchange rate that is not market-based, as well as current account restrictions, which are all against the articles of the fund. But there it is. So what is the PID deep reform agenda? You'll see an orange book there, orange or pink, I don't know what the color is. You'll see that we work very hard. This is the fund program. It's being distributed even as we speak. We think the colonial institutions need to be modernized. We think, I don't know, have any of you seen a Pakistani bureaucracy file? Do any of you know what a file looks like? File is the most important thing. I don't think you people from outside know what a file is. My life depends on a file. My school admission, my childhood, whatever, everything depends on a file. What is a file? It's a paper-based thing that sort of grows and grows in every aspect of my life. And it has, you tied strings around it, it looks terrible, but therefore, there it is. And I have to feed it with paper all the time. Paper, paper, paper. Every day I have to get something signed by some official because I exist. Colonial markets don't exist. In colonial systems, another thing is, I think we are all basically failed Marxists. Even the World Bank, we are all failed Marxists. We all think poverty, my God, poverty. My heart bleeds for poverty. Yet, I live in the Serena. Yet, I drive around in Land Cruiser, but my heart bleeds for poverty. Yes, madam, right? My heart bleeds for poverty. But the colonial market, colonial system is totally impervious to markets. Do you realize that we fix the prices of everything? From bananas to real estate, we fix prices of everything. Yesterday, or not yesterday, a week ago, the Chief Minister of Punjab announced that the roti is going to be 16 rupees. I went to Tandoor to buy roti the other day and it was 20. I insisted 16. The guy said, I won't give you any, go. I had a fight with him and I came back, but he wouldn't give it to me 16, but the government price is 16. So what do I do? See, that's how we break the law. We are so evil. But we don't want modernity. We don't want to get rid of the file. We don't want, these things are colonial because we don't want to use a computer. We use a computer for nothing, ladies and gentlemen. We have an ID card that is computerized, but we don't want to use it. And local research. Who wants research? Research is luxury good. So there we are. We don't want research. Local universities can't grow because we have too many consultants dumping on them. I don't know why the government makes universities. Everybody tells them to make universities. They make a university a day. The universities are professorless, but nobody listens to them anyways. So PIDE is saying deregulate the market. We've calculated the footprint of the government over, wrong figure, 70-80%. We've calculated the cost of every regulation, not every, but we've done a lot. The cost of regulations well over GDP. We are a controlled communist economy. We haven't completed the Washington Consensus. So PIDE is saying, please let the economy breathe. People have stopped investing because, hey, A, we are looked upon with suspicion. B, we have to go through 10,000 files. 5, we have to go to many, many, many permissions. The extent of permissions is amazing, and we have to talk about that. But then society is finished. Now, Dura Nayab has done this famous survey called Basics. She has shown you how trust in society is diminished, gone to hell. If you like, please go to the PID website, look at it. But we are fixed on tax GDP ratio. In a broken society, going with colonial institutions, with all these things, we are fixed on tax GDP ratio. Investors are scared. Youth, her survey has checked, youth wants to leave the country. Youth is really, really unhappy because we've got no opportunity. But we don't want opportunity. We want to tax. We'll tax, so we'll get opportunity. Is that socialism? I don't understand this at all. But nevertheless, what about PID reform? All these areas, every area is a governance issue. Please, this thing about thinking that you can push through some little, like for example, they push through 100 regulatory agencies. We got the Competition Commission, we got this, we got Fannie Mae, we got all those things because they want to bypass the system and build more. We keep building things. We get nothing. Competition Commission, we didn't need it, but they built it. We didn't need all these agencies, they built it. But now, we've got a deeply centralized system, a colonial system that was made by the East India Company that centralizes everything. Take, for example, PID, a small little research institute, but it is every few days the bureaucracy bothers us on some little detail. No technology anywhere, excessive government job security. We've calculated the cost of a government servant is huge, and their pension lasts for 2 generations, 3 generations. They can never be fired. I fired 2 people from the fund, and we've had 7 court cases for 5 years. That's the kind of job security you have. Every minister has come to me, take them back. They don't want to do anything, but I have to take them back. This is what we have. No results-based management. I tried to do performance review. They killed me. There's no markets, no performance review. Everybody has a socialist mindset. So hell, let's declare ourselves as Union of Socialist Soviet Pakistan. But no, we have to have tax GDP ratio. Okay, look at our... We've got stunted companies. The largest company in Pakistan, a country of 250 million people, is $2 billion. And it's a government-owned company. Do we have capitalism here? Do we have a market? This nonsense has to stop. We've got a stunted stock market. A stock market is 5% of GDP. It doesn't grow. Privatization. I just saw PIS being privatized. It's going to be privatized to the same crony capitalism. What do you call it in the Soviet Union? Sorry? No. What do you call this thing in the Soviet Union? In Russia, when they nomenclatura. We create a nomenclatura the way we privatize. I keep saying, why can't we privatize on the stock market? Why don't you do it neat and clean? No, we have to hire Ernst & Young or PwC or whatever, give them millions of dollars and then give it to a local state or whatever. State who was exporting is now running a corporate. I mean, it's just a disaster as far as I can see. These stunted companies, small stunted companies, the corporate governance is such that the board members of these companies are basically a very small club, and thanks to USAID, there was a new licensing agency was set up called the Pakistan Institute of Corporate Governance. Now, I cannot become a board member unless I go through that, get a license from there. Hafiz Pashal, all our best people can't become boards of directors. So, we got great licensing agency. Soviet Union again, but built by the USAID, not by us. Why should people invest? Every day a random taxation comes in, like the 7E that's being discussed now, that your deemed income is going to be taxed, that your clothes are going to be taxed. Last year my foot was taxed. The year before my hand was taxed. The year before, not even year before, sorry, the year before. No, we raise taxes every day. Every day. You know, I mean, somebody's, what do you call it? Computer was taxed. Yeah, this mobile phone, for God's sake, do you know how expensive this is? This is over $2,500. $1,000 of taxes. Why? Because we are so hungry for taxes. We need taxes. No opportunities, doesn't matter. Negative interest rates. Insanity. Shall I say more? We do the same old thing. Oh, real estate. My God, we hate real estate. We hate real estate. Doesn't matter that construction is a leading indicator. Doesn't matter housing starts are a leading indicator. There's a huge history for leading indicators. Doesn't matter, the construction is the first thing you do. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no real estate in this country, first of all. We only have plots. That's why the name is Plotistan. We have t-shirts for you, you can buy them. Plotistan written here. Two things. One is Permissionistan, the other is Plotistan. Plotistan because we build plots. Why do we build plots? Because the colonial system doesn't want real estate. They hate real estate. They don't like construction. But we all hate real estate because hearsay says real estate is bad. Show me where real estate is. We've got the smallest construction industry in the world. It's a pathetic construction industry. Whatever we have to build, we have to get from overseas. There's no real construction houses. Not a single construction company on the stock exchange. We have no downtowns. They say you can't build anything, so there's no downtowns. 2-floor limit. The only thing we can build in Pakistan is a 2-floor house. Nothing else. Nothing else. But this regulation we don't notice. We say, no, please tax more. Tax that bloody 2-story house to death. Doesn't matter. Let him go out of his house. Why is construction not there? So you should ask yourself that. What is the policy and reform? Nobody looks at this. Our policy model still remains a two-gap model. The old two-gap model, which was translated here by Mehbubullah and Harvard Advisory Group. The two-gap model basically says, look for dollars, do projects. There's no policy. That's all we do. We look for dollars. As you can see, our Prime Minister he's been here for 2 months and he's made 2 trips to Saudi Arabia, making a trip to China. All our Prime Ministers, if you take their trips, they're going looking for money and all we do is projects. We have no policy. The only policy we have is that donors come and give us, do a PICG, do this, that, etc. We follow. We say, okay, fine. We do it without thinking. Capacity building. This term is very strange. I'd love to go into this term. We used to have capacity in this country, even though it is colonial capacity. The best people in the bank and the fund at one point were Pakistanis. What happened? We've lost everybody. Now we have no capacity. The brain drain is taking place. Who talks about it? I was amused today. The PBC, the Pakistan Business Council, had a report there saying, save your talent. Don't think about a policy to bring your talent or save your talent. No, I wouldn't say bring them back, but have a policy to bring your talent back. So, PID is saying regulatory guillotine. Get rid of, do one-step deregulation, quick deregulation. Decentralize, autonomize, professionalize. Forget this thing about the old civil service. Let's have professionals everywhere. One of the reasons that we've had this energy crisis for this, loss in energy of $11 trillion over the last 20, 30 years is because we do not professionalize the energy sector and we don't want to. Colonial civil service resists professionalizing the sector. It is no wonder that the only professional who was brought into the government in 2015 or 16, Imran al-Haq, he was thrown in jail, 5 years of his life wasted, and now we tell him he was innocent. That's how much we hate professionals. And we want the old civil service to continue. Nobody wants to corporatize and list. In this country, there's no firm that is not family owned. There is no firm that is largely on the stock market. Simplified taxation. We can simplify taxes. We've been working on it. Digitize the thing. Don't put on tax after tax like the IMF does. Every 3 months they put in a mini budget. I'm sorry to say that's the truth, and I wish Esther had been here to answer that. And we should have a commitment to openness. Let's not just talk words. Let's not just say, hey, my accounts need another 500 billion. I have to get it from tariffs because it's easy to get. Let's not say GST should be on tariffs, which is a joke. Nowhere else in the world does it happen. Why don't we follow those principles? There are no markets anywhere. There are no markets anywhere. All these markets don't exist. And yet, we make these horrible cars that we don't export. And the interesting thing is, when we tell them to export, Toyota, the largest car maker in the world, that exports from many countries, tells us, I can't export from here. Jesus, what kind of nonsense is this? And our state doesn't have the guts to stand up, and our friends, the World Bank and IMF, doesn't say, okay, let them go. I say, let them go. Please let them go. They export or get them out. In fact, we are proposing a super tax on them if they don't export. Enough of this nonsense. I can't use a harsh word, but they have done many bad things to us over the last 50 years. Ladies and gentlemen, our fund program. We need a deep reform. Let's stop pussyfooting around with little taxes and with little this and pretend that we're a normal country. No, we ain't. We're a colonial construct. We need to become a modern country. Help us think through this reform and make it a modern country. We're a socialist country. Help us think through either markets or go towards socialism or go towards Islam, but we must make a clear decision. This thing about tax means we forget about all the real problems. Tax is not the main issue. Thank you.